Okay, so let's try and unpack this. It's a really staggering economic contradiction coming out of India. This issue of educated unemployment. It just flips the whole idea of what a degree is supposed to do, right? And the numbers, I mean, we looked at the sources you mentioned, and they're quite stark. The jobless rate for graduates sits at 29.1%.
Yeah.
That's nearly 9 times higher than the rate, 3.4% for people who can't read or write. And the scale. It's huge. Youth unemployment is higher than global levels now, making up, what, 83% of the total unemployed workforce in India?
Exactly. And that's why we can't just look at this as, a simple economic problem. It feels much deeper, like a structural failure, and has these massive ripple effects. So our mission today really is to analyze the 4 big long-term consequences.
Yeah.
We need to get past just the immediate financial hardship and look at things like societal stability and the psychological toll it's taking.
Right. Let's start with maybe the biggest economic piece, wasted human potential. India is supposed to be leveraging this demographic dividend, this enormous pool of young, educated people. But if they're not working, or not working effectively, that dividend, well, it becomes a demographic threat, doesn't it? It could lead straight to economic stagnation.
Absolutely. It's a massive underutilization. And this waste, it really stems from a couple of related issues. There's the skills mismatch we hear about, but also what economists are calling jobless growth. You see the economy growing on paper, but the number of good formal sector jobs just isn't keeping pace. The supply of graduates keeps going up, but quality job creation lags way behind. I saw one report recently, the India Skills Report, I think, found that just 51.25% of graduates were even considered employable. They had the degree, the paper, but maybe not the specific skills employers are looking for.
Okay, so is it just a skill mismatch, or is it also that the formal sector just isn't expanding fast enough to absorb them? Because 51% employable still leaves a lot of employable people without jobs.
Well, it's definitely both. The lack of sufficient job creation is a huge part of it. And that economic frustration, it starts to spill over. It creates significant societal instability. Think about it. You have an entire generation, educated, told this is the path to a better life, and then they feel, well, betrayed by the system. That fuels resentment, disillusionment, and that can lead to social unrest.
And that connects to underemployment too, right?
Directly. Increased underemployment is a major outcome. You have people forced to take jobs that are way below their qualification level. An engineer may be working in retail, like you said earlier. That leads to huge job dissatisfaction, obviously, but it also compounds the waste. The investment in their education isn't yielding the expected return, not for them, not for the economy.
And you see that pressure in the intense focus on government jobs, don't you? Young people spending years, literal years, preparing for these competitive exams, essentially delaying entering the workforce because those stable government positions seem like the only safe bet.
They're seen as the only pathway to stability for many, yeah. It's a rational response to a dysfunctional market, in a way.
But we can't just talk economics and stability. There's a real human cost here. What about the psychological side? The mental distress. This feels different from just a typical downturn.
Oh, absolutely. The psychological burden is immense and, frankly, often overlooked in policy discussions. We're talking widespread anxiety, depression, really damaging levels of low self-esteem among these young unemployed individuals. For many, being unemployed isn't just about not having an income. It's about failing to achieve those expected life milestones, independence, maybe starting a family.
Yeah.
When you've invested so much time and effort into education and it still doesn't lead anywhere, that personal sense of failure can be crushing. It adds to a kind of social fragility.
Okay, so we've laid out these 4 major consequences: wasted potential, the societal instability, this rise in underemployment, and the very real mental distress. If you had to weigh them, which one poses the single greatest long-term threat to India's development?
That is the crucial question, isn't it? It's tough because the instability and the mental health issues are so immediate, so painful right now. But if I'm thinking strictly long-term about the country's overall trajectory, I'd have to say it's the wasted human potential.
Why that one specifically?
Because the failure to really harness this huge youth demographic, while it's still young, is fundamentally irreversible. That demographic window doesn't stay open forever. If India can't create the jobs needed for this educated workforce now, that potential is lost, and the economic drag will compound over decades. This structural inability to generate enough quality jobs for the new labor force entering the market, that's the core fault line, I think. The other consequences, however serious, are symptoms of that deeper issue. And ultimately, you see how they all connect back, right? These structural problems, maybe low-quality higher education focusing on quantity over skills, and an economy that struggles with formal job creation, they directly feed into all these negative outcomes we've discussed.
So, reflecting on all this, it brings up that warning from former RBI Governor Raghuram Rajan about how India's post-schooling could hold back its economic future. It leaves you with a tough question, doesn't it? What needs to come first to turn this around? Do you focus on drastically improving the quality of education, fixing that skill supply side? Or is the absolute priority right now just rapid, large-scale creation of formal sector jobs to absorb the millions who are already educated, even if imperfectly skilled? We'll leave that question with you to think about.